That's the difference in me trying to figure every little thing we need to do out and then getting people to implement it and then checking their work versus me having people who rise to these levels where they're saying, oh, we should actually start doing these things. And look, I did all the research and can I go ahead and implement it? And I'm like, not even in your job description. You just care about this company and you want us to grow because when we grow, it benefits all of my employees. I don't cap salaries. I, do bonuses and, growth plans and all this kind of stuff. So my team knows the more successful the business is, the more successful they will be. And so people are motivated. So I think in the beginning, I was so afraid to hire. And that's what kept me small for so long. And now that I'm like letting go, trusting other people, that's been, I think, that's been the high point of this year and last year for me.
Welcome back to Founders in the Field, the show where I go behind the scenes with agency leaders, consultants, and creative founders to show you how they're building, scaling, and staying sane in the trenches. I'm your host, Stefan Bradley, and today's guest is Megan Hargroda, founder of Legends Legal Marketing. How are you doing, Megan?
Doing great. How are you today?
Very well. Thank you for joining me. Let's dive straight in. For people who don't know your story, take us right back to the start of your journey and what made you start your own business, and give us an overview of what your role looks like today at Legends Legal Marketing.
Yeah, so I run a legal marketing agency. So we work only with solo and small firm attorneys. And that's been that way for about 10 years. But I got started 15 years ago working with all kinds of businesses in the inception of the social media era. So my business was actually founded out of a desire for wellness. I was trying to get into these yoga classes, but I was working at a nonprofit and not making any money, and I couldn't pay for them. So I ended up bartering with the studio owner and saying, hey, I'll launch all this social media stuff for you for free if I can come to classes for free. And at the time, she saw no value in that, but she's like, I don't care. I have to pay the teacher to show up anyways. Like, sure, come to class. And it was really successful because if you remember the early days of social media, any business just joining, would see a huge impact from it. So it was an early adopter phase. So I was able to see success. The studio owner referred me to another friend who owned a business, who referred me to another friend who owned a business. Cue to this continuing to happen until I was able to quit my full-time job, start my own agency, and work with all of these businesses. And it was really great. It was just me for a while. I was just doing everything on my own. And at some point, I realized that I couldn't do it all on my own. I needed to hire people, and that a lot of my clients took a lot of time, but didn't pay a lot of money and were really energetically draining. So I did that kind of 80-20 rule where I'm like, who are the good clients? Who's paying their bills on time? Who's happy to, pay money for this work? And it turns out it was lawyers. And when I had announced that I was going to work just with lawyers, I remember like, friends and colleagues being like, wow, that sounds terribly boring. And I was like, what is not boring is financial stability. And so that was my primary goal for niching to lawyers.
Well, even though some people say it's boring, I found it when I seen that you was in sort of that's your niche legal marketing. I thought that must be interesting because it's different to a lot of other sort of marketing agencies. You've niched down to a very specific industry, and of course, I bet you can get like a lot of good wins for them as well. Like it actually makes a difference.
And that was the big thing too. The other legal marketing agencies in the space, especially earlier on, they weren't doing really good work. So it wasn't difficult to get results because all you had to do was a good job, and everything is based on location-based search. So once I really honed in on mastered how to do location-based search, I was able to show tremendous success. So I still have clients working with me from 10 years ago because they are just so happy with their results, and we just have continued the relationship. So it was really good. It was a really good move. It's also been really interesting to learn a lot about the legal industry. So often my friends will come to me with legal issues that they're experiencing because before they talk to a lawyer, they'll be like, what about, like, I review contracts for my friends all the time. And so that's kind of fun, is having so much knowledge of the law and also having all of these lawyer contacts so that when people that I know do need a lawyer, I'm like, oh, I know who's good.
No, definitely. When you go to like a service-based business, that it's obviously quite high ticket, isn't it? Legal, I would have thought. Do you know what I mean? So instead of, as long as you're getting them clients or you're giving them exposure that's going to get them clients, I can imagine they're very loyal as well.
Exactly. And we track all of that. So our clients are really good about giving us their data in terms of leads and clients coming in on their end. So we're able to definitively know if we're hitting our goals and doing a good job. And I always try to show my clients a 10X ROI. So whatever they're paying me, I want to make sure they're making 10 times that every month in their business. Because if we can deliver on that, then we can keep our clients. So that's always my top goal is 10x. My competitors don't do 10x. Um, it's a big goal. It's hard to do. It requires a lot of effort, and it's required a lot of like building an amazing team to execute on that too.
So, of the clients that you have or the clients that you target, are they in a specific sort of niche of a niche? Do they specifically do one type of law, or is it sort of a little broad in that aspect?
So all of my clients do one type of law, but I don't work with just one type of lawyer. So for example, um, all of my clients will be either personal injury, criminal defense, divorce. They'll only do one thing, but I do non-competes with most of my clients, which is I don't recommend for people growing their agencies because then you have to turn down a lot of business. Um, but so I only have, one divorce lawyer in the city of Chicago. And I won't take on another one because then I'm kind of competing with myself, right? I want this one client to get all of the calls in Chicago, and law is very specific to the state, but lawyers specifically are specific to the city because that's the courts that they have to drive to in order to go to trial. So I don't work with people who are like, I do these five different unrelated things because that's also harder to get them to rank because Google really likes to see that you do one specific thing in one specific area.
So, are you going? Is like your sort of client list then across all of America? Because then I'm guessing you can get, one divorce lawyer that's in Chicago, but then also have another divorce lawyer that's in a completely different state.
Exactly, exactly. So, all across the US, we have a few clients in Canada, one in Mexico, and I really do want to expand more into the European markets as well. It's just difficult because US agency pricing is so much higher than what that would look like over there. So far, it's just primarily US. I do plan on expanding more to Canada because competition in Canada is so low in terms of marketing. So if I get a client, I know I can perform really well for them because their competitors aren't doing all of the things that we are doing for our clients. So that's kind of my next big target is getting into the Canadian market. Also, Canadians are such nice people. They're just so lovely to work with. They just say sure and thank you and great. That sounds good. They're not like, sometimes you have a US attorney and especially like certain states are rougher, like Boston, even Chicago, where you just kind of sometimes it feels like they're yelling at you and they're not, but they're just so like New York is another state where sometimes it feels like people are just kind of mad or yelling at you even if they're not. So I really love the Canadian lawyers because they just seem so happy for such a cold place. The people seem really happy there.
Yeah, no, that is the crazy thing about America, isn't it? It's so big, but you have so many different sort of like cultural nuances in from different states, as opposed to it just being sort of like a smaller country, then, you sort of that one culture in America, you kind of do have subcultures within that, don't you?
Yeah, it is so big. I had to explain that to, I took a gap year where I traveled Europe in 2023 and I went to all these different countries and I was trying to explain to people because people especially talk about Americans like, oh my gosh, you don't speak multiple languages. And it's like, well, first of all, you speak other languages because your tiny little country is bordering other little countries and you need to interact with these people, right? So you have to, right? We're in this place where we're in this giant place and where most people never leave. And we're not bordering, a lot of us speak Spanish, but other than that, like we're not bordering any places where we would need to know the language. So yeah, And it's like enough to just learn all of the different things about the US. It really is so big. So the market is big, and that's why I can at this time afford to have these non-competes with my clients. But if I could go back and change something, it would be not to have non-competes because, like I said, I had to turn down a lot of business this year because the bigger markets, especially like Houston personal injury, um, such a big opportunity there, but I only can have the one client.
Okay, so Megan, we've got a background on, your business and when you started and about Legends Legal Marketing. I just want to switch gears a little bit and talk to you about what are the biggest trends that you're seeing inside the market today.
Um, so there's actual trends and there's perceived trends. The biggest perceived trend is just the AI bucket. And there's a lot of things that we're just not there yet, right? And we're actively trying to figure things out. So one of the big thing is for us and our clients is ranking in AI search. How can we be found in AI search? And a lot of different agencies have a lot of different ideas about how to do that and what are the triggers. I have some pretty different ideas about how that works. So, and the truth is, no one really knows. So, right now, what we're doing is we're testing a whole bunch of things with a whole bunch of different clients and sort of measuring how those rankings look and how those results are spat back out so that we can figure that out and systemize it. And then, of course, we're going to get into the time where we see ads in the space. And so I think that's kind of the next big thing on the horizon is advertising through LLMs. And so we're really gearing up and getting prepared for that to hit the industry, but even advertising within niche LLMs. So there's one called Vic AI that's just specifically for legal services. So anyone can go put their legal problem in, and the AI is really good to help you solve a legal problem. And in the event you get to the end of the conversation and it's like you do need to hire a lawyer for this, um, their system will start recommending lawyers. And so that platform is starting to open it up to lawyers to actually become members and get recommended and get their ads up. So that's one of the big opportunities that I'm looking at right now within my space. But I know there's other things, there's other systems similar to Vic AI that exist in other niches as well. So on a broader scope thing, I think for everyone in the marketing space, the big trend is to lean into the niche because the broader you go, the more no one's paying attention to anything because there's just an increasing amount of noise around everything.
Funny you should say about Vic AI, because I had a podcast a while ago now with Need an Attorney, and it was quite a cool concept how they're sort of navigating, or they've built a platform for AI for like consumers, or somebody with the legal problem to be able to go onto their platform, type in where they're from, what kind of claim or whatever whatever legal sort of trouble they're in, or whether it's trouble or not, and then their AI sort of searches their database to pick the right attorney in the right vertical, the one closest to them, to then be able to sort of like link them up together. And then it's kind of like twofold because they have obviously on the consumer side they have that, but then also on the attorney side is validating attorneys that want to be in their database to be actually like ranked, I suppose, as the best or the worst type of thing to be able to actually be recommended. So it's crazy how like these type of things are going to keep evolving and evolving, especially in the legal space, because like you said, is different niches are going to have different things. But that's the what you just said then about Vic AI, and then from the Need an Attorney, what I interviewed, does two separate things that are kind of like a different spin on how AI can actually help in this market.
And the thing about legal specifically is that it is getting so saturated like that. So there will be, 100 tools like that at some point. Lawyers are known to be the biggest spenders of marketing dollars. So agencies that niche are starting to um, focus more on lawyers, and they're starting to build up these kind of mega agencies. Like there's a few now out there in legal marketing that are just mega agencies buying up all the smaller agencies to try to kind of corner the market on that. So it's a really interesting space. If I were going to start over again, I probably wouldn't do legal. I love it. But like knowing what the competition looks like now, I would definitely attack. Like if I had to start all over again, I would go into the dental space. the orthodontic space, and the aesthetics, I think, because that's blowing up right now. It's becoming more and more common for people to do all kinds of stuff to their face, really. Especially like the Gen Zs, and it's like your face is not even broken yet. Like, what are you doing? Um,
Yeah,
but
just
I feel
wait,
like
just
that,
wait.
yeah, I'm like, yeah, seriously, like just wait till you're 40 and see what happens to you. And then get brought on this podcast where they don't let you put a filter on your face. So, but I think those are kind of like if I were looking to do something now, I feel like those are kind of the industries that I would be looking to insert into.
So, talking about AI, how have you implemented AI into your business?
We're using it a lot as like a research builder tool. So we're like my whole team is a big fan of Claude, as a research tool and a builder, and a lot of the SEO teams using Claude Cowork for building kind of their own stuff, as well as sort of just building our own little agents to do what we need them to do because there's been a lot of, I've tested so much software over the years and I'm like, I want it to do this thing and you can't find something to do that. So right now I have my developer building a chatbot that's for our website that sounds exactly like me because it's analyzing 2 years of calls that I've done with clients and potential clients. And The sticky part is there's still a lot of training that you have to do, right, to get it right. So we're in that phase where he's handed that over to me and I'm now training the tool. And by that, I mean, it's just kind of on my to-do list and I really need to work on it this evening. So that kind of leaning more into that space and then figuring out also like if we get this just right, this and other tools, how can we productize that? And then how can we offer that to our clients and or getting into the SaaS space, like what would that look like to sell this tool to someone else?
Well, what you just said then is the correct way of how to use AI or build these type of agents because one thing, that if you're an expert in your industry that you've done, you've had lots of, it's basically data is the goal. So being able to train AI on your data because nobody else has your data is how you're going to make it specific to, your outcomes and what you've done. And I feel like that's like the number one rule that I think if anybody's watching this, that you have like an agency or anything like that, you have gold from your data, from like what you just said then, from client communications or prospects that you've spoke to, campaigns that have won versus campaigns that haven't won, and being able to take all that data and train the AI on that is what separates you from anybody else that's using AI that's not using it on data, which a lot of people would be.
Exactly. It's like that's what you have that other people don't have. What other people are doing with AI, like the basic bar right now is so low. People are just plugging crap into ChatGPT and like it's spitting some stuff out. It's crazy right now because I'm hiring a lot and I'm vetting candidates and the amount of people who just, I know that it's not even AI. You can tell specifically when ChatGPT wrote it, when Gemini wrote it, when Claude wrote it, it's so clear like even what thing they used and how so disqualifying people for, not even being able to think on their own. So now I'm integrating sort of guidelines. It's like I do expect you to use AI. Expect everyone on my team to use AI. And so I'm having guidelines on how versus the the cheap way to do it where you're just, people are applying for jobs as full-time copywriters and all of the writing they've ever done is asking ChatGPT to write a blog for them and I'm truly worried for them.
Agree with you 100%. It's not, I don't want to use the term lazy in a really harsh way, but it is lazy
It
in the
is
sense that
lazy.
it is lazy to say write me this blog post on this subject without putting your internal like expertise, what you actually think into it, and being able to sort of you get it to actually give you an output that one sounds like you and actually makes sense, and that you actually understand what it's trying to say to you, as opposed to just saying write me this email or write me this blog post or write me this, how whatever it may be. Do you know what I mean? With the very little input that you're giving it, the same person that's three doors down from you could be giving it the exact same prompt and it's pulling from the same knowledge pool, and so you're going to get identical sort of outputs.
And it's never good. It really is. It's never, maybe one day it will be, but right now it's just not good and it doesn't rank. So a lot of what we're doing is search engine optimization. So we can't have ChatGPT write content because search engines recognize that as AI generated content and generic, and it won't rank. That said, there's so many ways that you can use tools like Claude to feed in very specific prompts, guidelines, goals, tone, all of basically like we're kind of putting together these brand guides, but for voice tone for our clients, and then using these tools to write. But there's so many inputs and there's so many edit points that you have to do at the end as well.
Definitely. So, Megan, what is working well and where do you feel slight friction inside Legends legal marketing?
I think what's going really well for me right now is the general growth of my team. I feel like I've developed this really good culture where people really like working for me. People really like the just kind of the easygoing nature of having a remote work environment, not having a lot of stress. Receiving all of the training and the guidance that you need so that you're not like wondering how to do your job kind of thing. Like I feel like we really set people up for success and then treat them really well. And so I've been able to build the team where people really stay around and grow with me. And that's taken my business to the next level. That's the difference in me trying to figure every little thing we need to do out and then getting people to implement it and then checking their work versus me having people who rise to these levels where they're saying, oh, we should actually start doing these things. And look, I did all the research and can I go ahead and implement it? And I'm like, not even in your job description. You just care about this company and you want us to grow because when we grow, it benefits all of my employees. I don't cap salaries. I, do bonuses and, growth plans and all this kind of stuff. So my team knows the more successful the business is, the more successful they will be. And so people are motivated. So I think in the beginning, I was so afraid to hire. And that's what kept me small for so long. And now that I'm like letting go, trusting other people, that's been, I think, that's been the high point of this year and last year for me.
Definitely you trusting them, but also them trusting you in the sense of that you're going to actually let them sign off on it as well, and not say no, that's not in your job, and give them that freedom of expression. Definitely gives them that room to actually excel.
People love having their ideas heard, and that's a huge thing. I'm always excited when people bring ideas to the table. And I'm so excited to let people drive. I think letting go of control and not thinking, oh, it has to be done this certain way. Everyone's going to do it different, but that doesn't mean, this is better or this is better. So I love letting people just hop into the driver's seat and take ownership of things.
So where do you feel any sort of slight friction inside Legends legal marketing?
Okay, so right now I've got my team built out. I've got back office support. I've got like kind of like a little more help than I need because I'm preparing for growth. Which, there's that chicken or the egg thing where you have that tipping point. And so right now, my biggest pain point is like sales and acquisition. I've never done outbound sales. I've never made a cold call in my 15 years of business. Everything we've gotten has been referral based. However, to get from where I want to be, for where I am to where I want to be, I have to bring in salespeople who have to do cold calls, who have to do these cold email sequences. We have to go to conferences. We have to shake hands. We have to like really get out there more. So that's the thing that I'm really trying to work on right now.
Definitely, that's sort of when you go into that next stage, requires different sort of skills, doesn't it? And outbound being get you in conversations with people that might not have seen you otherwise. So it's definitely maybe not as comfortable as it would be just getting referrals, but growth never is.
Growth is never comfortable. Yeah. And I know that I'm just not the type of person to ever go do like cold pitches or anything. So that's where I've just identified I need to hire people and put systems into place to do this for me.
Well, it kind of led me, you've kind of answered my next question, which was, walk me through how you're currently bringing in clients. But from the sounds of it, it's a lot of, warm referrals, is it? And maybe finding you on, search engines and things like that. Is that how you're currently bringing in clients?
Yeah, we do get some clients just from our own SEO on our website, which we kind of plan to take to the next level this year and do the type of work we do for our clients on our own website. So I expect that will generate more. But yeah, 10 years ago, my great uncle, before he died, I went to go visit him, and he, had his own business his whole life, and he was so excited to hear that I was starting my own business. And he was like, I have some advice for you. And I was like, I'm going to write it down. And he's like, just do your best work every time and never turn down a job that you think is too small. Because people talk, people will refer you, people will hire you again. And even if it's a small job now, it could be a big job later. And so I've always gone by that and honored that, and, done my very best work for everyone, and done free work for people, which, at the time it was just free work. And then 5 years later, this person's grown their firm and they're ready to hire me on. So it all, karma is very real, and it's gotten me really far. And the next step is active sales.
No, that's definitely sound advice, I think. It goes a long way, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean? Like you said, no job's too small, but even, doing things for companies that you might think, oh, they're a little bit not going to bring me in much money, but, that can have such a snowballing effect, and businesses speak to businesses.
Yes, exactly. People talk. And, building trust is one of the big things that I help my clients to do. And it's one of the things that I practice as much as I can, is just building trust with people. Because at the end of the day, a lot of people don't trust marketers, just like a lot of people don't trust lawyers. So I have a lot in common with my clients as business owners.
So obviously we already sort of covered acquisition. So just another quick question off that. Say if you took on 10 new clients tomorrow, is there anything that would be holding you back sort of taking on that many clients or taking on any more clients after that? Just because I know you're talking, saying that you're in the growth phase. So is there anything sort of limiting you of how many clients you can take on?
At this point, at one time, I think I would say we're prepped for maybe taking on 6 to 8 new clients per month, kind of timed out, just because of the way that my onboarding process looks, which is what you and I are going to talk more about offline. But in terms of just the onboarding and streamlining, I want to obviously make that more efficient, but I never want to compromise the quality and the attention that we're able to give to people during that really crucial phase of getting to know them. So 10 clients in one day, no, I don't think I'll ever be able to take on 10 clients in one day. 10 clients in 1 month, I think we can get there. So my goal right now is, about 6 per month through the end of the year.
And you hit the nail on the head there. You as much as scaling, you need your and using automations to be able to handle more clients, but also it's about keeping the experience for the clients as personal as you can, and to the high quality that you can, that you just mentioned there.
Yeah, exactly.
So Megan, my last couple of questions are: where do you want to be in the next 12 to 18 months in terms of business?
On an emotional level, honestly, I want to be recognized a little bit more in my space. All of my competitors are male business owners who have scaled more aggressively than I have, and I've been like kind of like overlooked. So on an emotional level, I want to be a little bit more recognized. And on a business scale level, I want to double my team by the end of next year. Well, a little bit more than double. So I have a team of 20, and my goal is 50. So obviously the client acquisition that I'm looking for is to support that growth of that team. But yeah, I'm looking to grow my team to 50. And I don't really have aspirations of growing beyond that, because 50 people is a tipping point. Um, and I feel like a 50-person company is one that would still be really fun for me to manage, because you still do get to know who everyone is, and you still get to have that camaraderie, and you still get to make sure everyone's well taken care of. Beyond that, you need a lot more people to manage the people. Um, and I'm not trying to grow this giant thing to sell. I'm trying to create this lifestyle business where I'm working hard, but I'm also not working more than 40 hours a week, and neither is anyone on my team, and that we're able to prioritize our families and our friends and our health and all of that kind of stuff.
So if you grew to, a 50 person team, would you then keep everybody remote or would you have an office?
I would keep everyone remote. My talent is all over the US right now, and I don't want to limit the talent that I'm able to bring in by making people to go to the office. And people don't want to go to the office. That's not fun. Like, why take someone's time away from them by making them commute, by making them meal prep their lunches for the office, all of those little, by making them fight with their coworkers in the break room or get annoyed because someone breathes really loud. None of those things need to happen. So I will always be 100% remote.
Business model a lot. I feel like having going into work in an office when for a company, unless it's like a physical company that you need to be, but I feel like is very, what's the saying? It's very last year, very 2020, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And I feel like
Easy
we've moved past that now, haven't we? We've moved past them 6 o'clock alarms to make sure that you have to get up to actually go to get into commute to work and then commute back to work. I feel like it's a much more healthier way of working remotely.
Yeah, and when you provide a healthier environment, you inspire your team to be healthier, which inspires them to work better, which they have more energy in order to give their work. And then, so I'm the one that benefits from that. My business benefits from that. So, yeah, remote work, plenty of time off, prioritizing healthcare. I always tell people, like, make your dentist appointment in the middle of the day and go take time and go to the dentist. And you don't need to ask for time off, just put it on your calendar so I know you're not there. There's no reason to do all of that in your personal time.
I think a lot of people would like working for you, Megan, in that respect. But Megan, my last question is, if you could wave a magic wand and fix one thing in your business, what would it be and why?
That would just go back to my sales engine. I would wave a magic wand and I would have a consistent number of leads coming in every month instead of the sporadic, you know, here and there. Sometimes it's three and sometimes it's 30. And it's just not consistent. So I would love for my lead gen engine to just be completely consistent. And I think I'll be there by the end of this year.
Yeah, it's a very practical answer to the question. Everybody gives me such different answers, but yeah, I think that's a very practical answer and a way of looking at that question. So I appreciate that. Megan, thank you so much for coming on. I've loved having you on, loved talking shop with you. Where can my viewers and listeners sort of reach out to you if they're wanting to potentially work with you or just, find out what you do?
Yeah, so the website is a wealth of information. It's legendslegalmarketing.com, and you can just Google Legends Legal Marketing. And also, I have my calendar link is on the contact page, so anyone who wants to talk with me can book time with me. I do not pressure people into sales. I really like learning about people. So yeah, my appointment's wide open if anyone wants to book with me.
Again, thank you so much for coming on. And everybody, all my viewers and listeners, please like, comment, subscribe, send to a friend, and we'll see you next time. Thanks, Megan.
Thank you.